Well, now the day of the tragedy, I want you to kind of detail the timeline, because you've dealt with the police chiefs and the forensic people, so you really know the timeline of exactly what happened. And I want you to tell them about that propane bomb that they had planted in the cafeteria, because a lot of people don't know about that.
Sure. Well, Harris and Klebold had actually created what they estimated was 95 explosive devices. Pipe bombs, cricket bombs, propane tank bombs. At about 11 a.m. that morning, Eric Harris walked into the school with a duffel bag, a blue duffel bag with two 20-pound propane tanks inside and a detonator. If he had been asked what it was, he would have simply said it was gym equipment or something. He went into the cafeteria of the school and placed it under a table in the middle of the room. Now, they had, in previous months, calculated carefully when the maximum number of students would be in the cafeteria. And he set the bomb to go off at 11:17 that morning, precisely the time when he estimated that over 600 students would be in the cafeteria. Then he and Eric Harris went out of the building, geared up, put on their ammo belts and their guns, and they had knives on them, and they had pipe bombs and several bags that they were carrying. And they walked up to the top of a place they called Suicide Hill, and at about 11:20, 11:21, they opened fire. Now, the bomb in the cafeteria failed to detonate.
Why do they think that? I read somewhere that they thought it was a short in a fuse.
I spoke to one of the bomb squad experts from the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, who told me that a single wire in the detonator of that propane tank bomb failed. It was loose.
That's amazing.
It's amazing because, Mary, if that bomb had exploded in that cafeteria, we would have not lost just 13 students. We would have likely lost 500 plus lives, because it would have completely devastated that cafeteria and killed likely everybody in it.
Well, and in the propane bomb, didn't they also have like nails and different type of almost shrapnel that would have went all over the place? And
sure. They built some very vicious bombs. Very vicious. The pipe bombs themselves scattered shrapnel in every direction. I mean, they were terrible.
And so when the bomb didn't blow off, then what did they do? They were counting down the minutes, and when it didn't blow at 11:17, they were moved into their second phase?
Right. They were waiting for the bomb to go off because their original plan, according to their own diaries, was to stand outside the school and wait for the bomb to explode and then shoot kids as they were running out of the burning building in all of the confusion. When the bomb didn't explode, they decided to go ahead and open fire. And Rachel and her friend Richard Castaldo were the first two students to actually be hit by gunfire as they were sitting outside the school eating their lunch. And then after Rachel and Richard were hit and down on the ground, then they opened fire on the other students that were standing around outside, kind of in a daze and in confusion, and they killed several students.
Now I want to go over that part with Rachel. So Richard was hit first, and then Rachel was hit 3 times.
That's right.
And then, as I understand, she was moving and trying to get away, crawl away, and that's when Eric came up to her. And exactly what did he say to Rachel?
Well, according to Richard Castaldo's report to his mother, just as he was being brought into the trauma center at the hospital, Eric Harris walked over to Rachel, mocked her vulgarly about her faith in Jesus, laughed at her wounds. And then he grabbed her by her hair, pulled her head up, and he said, "Where is your God now? Do you still believe in him?" And according to Richard's report, Rachel looked up and said, "You know that I love Jesus." And he put the gun to her head, and he said, "Then go and be with him now." And he shot her.
And Roberts.
Good evening. Dan is off tonight. I'm John Roberts. The sounds from a high school massacre in progress. Authorities late today released the frantic and chaotic 911 tapes from Tuesday's killing spree at Columbine High School. This as suspicions grow that the 2 known shooters may have had help. CBS's Bill Whitaker is on the scene in Littleton, Colorado with late details. Bill?
John, we've seen the pictures and heard the reactions, but the 911 tapes released today add a harrowing new dimension to this tragedy. It's the bone-chilling soundtrack for these images of terror, one of the first 911 calls from an unidentified student inside the school.
Okay, we had a report of an explosion down there.
Just moments later, while terrorized students ran for their lives, you hear and feel the rising terror. A teaching assistant named Peggy calls from the library.
Do we know where he's at? I'm sorry? Do we know where he's at? Okay. On the library. He's upstairs. He's right outside of here. I am on the floor. Okay. You've got the kids there? And I've got every student in this library on the floor. You better stay on the floor. Is there any way you can lock the doors? Smoke is coming in from out there. I'm looking. Okay. The gun is right outside the library door. Okay. I've got the kids on the floor. I got all the kids in the library.
In the wake of this tragedy, the whole town seems to be questioning itself. Should someone have noticed Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold were primed to explode? There were glaring signals. Harris had an alarmingly violent website. The boys made a class video of trench-coated gunmen shooting athletes. Harris wrote death threats over the internet. Yet a court official recently gave both boys glowing reports when they completed probation for breaking into a car. Eric is a bright young man who is likely to succeed in life, the officer wrote. Dylan is a bright young man who has a great deal of potential.
Didn't somebody see it?
Now, police have been criticized for missing signals with these kids. To make sure they don't miss any other signals, the police have interviewed now more than 500 people, and they're focusing on the friends of the two gunmen. John?
Bill Whitaker in Littleton, Colorado. Thanks. In an ocean of memorable and horrifying images from Littleton, few of us will ever forget the picture of one wounded student's desperate struggle to survive as the world watched. Tonight, Bob McNamara takes you beyond that picture to tell you the story of this young man's continuing struggle to survive.
He was the kid in the broken window. 17-year-old Patrick Ireland, with 3 wounds to the head, desperately pleading for help. And as other students ran for their lives and ambulances raced the wounded to hospitals, a SWAT team with an armored car finally reached him.
The cavalry was coming, and we didn't want him to jump and hurt himself unnecessarily.
It was the most searing image of a will to live. As wounded teenager Patrick Ireland was pulled over broken glass and dropped like a rag doll to safety.
It must have been a heroic effort on his part to get up and get out.
Doctors say a bullet to Patrick Ireland's brain has slurred his speech and disabled the right side of his body, effects similar to a stroke.
The most likely outcome is that he will have very significant weakness probably on his right side, although many people surprise us all the time.
For years, Ireland, on the left, has been close friends with Mackay Hall. They were together Tuesday when they were shot. And recovering from shotgun wounds, Hall deflected questions about the condition of his friend and talked of his own will to get better.
Even though it's a great tragedy, I'm not going to let it bring me down. I'm going to use it to motivate myself.
While Mackay Hall was headed home from the hospital today, Patrick Ireland may need years of recovery therapy. Still on a day of death and desperation, millions already know of Patrick Ireland's will to survive. Bob McNamara, CBS News, Littleton, Colorado.
Amid all this tragedy are 2 central questions. How did Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold meticulously plan this attack without anyone becoming suspicious? And were there obvious signs that went unnoticed? Let's take a closer look at that website attributed to Eric Harris. There are some disturbing images of a shotgun and knife-toting goth figure standing above burning skulls. Another clad in body armor shooting a victim. There is also a drawing of a Tech-9 machine pistol, one of the weapons used in the attack. And if the image is flipped over, scrawls on the back of the paper become quite clear. They are diagrams of bomb detonators made with model rocket motors. A group of rocket motors attached to what looks like a propane bottle. A similar device was found yesterday in the school's kitchen. There's also an illustration of a pipe bomb and a concealed knife that springs into action from the user's forearm. It would seem that something was going on in the young man's mind. The search for insights took CBS News correspondent Elizabeth Caledon far from the scene of the crime.
1,600 miles away from Littleton, Colorado, in Plattsburgh, New York, they're grasping for clues and answers. Eric Harris played Little League and went to elementary school here while his father worked at the local Air Force base. When news of the shooting broke, old friends here were stunned.
Because I took out my yearbook and I compared pictures, and sure enough, it was him. And
I couldn't believe it. It was
Nora
amazing.
Bordeaux, Adam Pasty, and Kyle Ross spent several days on a whale-watching field trip with Harris where they took this picture of him. They use words like loving and friendly to describe Harris. No trace of violence, no hint of anger.
That's the picture that really, hits me the most, because in it he's looks like the happiest kid there. He's having the time of his life. He has his big grin ear to ear.
All the guys were kind of troublemakers, but he even seemed tentative to do things like that. He was pretty quiet, but...
So he was never even an instigator?
No, not at all.
When the Plattsburgh Air Force Base closed down in 1993, Harris and his family were forced to move away. He said goodbye in 6th grade yearbooks.
Adam, you've been a great friend. Have a great summer. I'll send you a shirt from Denver. I'm going to miss all of you.
Now, looking back, his friends worry that being uprooted as he headed into adolescence may have been harder on Harris than they thought.
I think that he turned into something that he wouldn't have turned into if he stayed here.
The descriptions of Eric Harris as a friendly, loving boy make his spiral into violence and hatred all the more chilling. Where along the road from Plattsburgh to Littleton did such extreme changes take place, and why? Elizabeth Caledon, CBS News, Plattsburgh, New York.
And CBS News will have the very latest on the tragedy in Littleton on a special edition of 48 Hours After the Tears tomorrow night at 8, 7 Central Time on this CBS station. And still ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News.
Phil's got a disease.
Fuck, Negro.
Shit. Phil can't load a weapon right.
Oh, shit, man. Let me get funny. Can I borrow your left glove, please? All right.
Man, these are like perfect.
Really?
Like only block out really loud noises.
You get it from like musicians' places.
You're not gonna hit it.
Well, I go, fuck it. Dude, you gotta get on the side of this one, man.
Yeah. High school kids use guns.
Doesn't want to catch it.
Push that fucker up.
Shit.
Rapid.
Hey, hold on, let me get...
That thing is awesome.
Shooting it.
Point
Ben.
You got it.
See it shatter?
What'd it do?
Damn!
Entry, exit.
Holy just frozen wood in it.
Holy shit.
Oh, man.
You got another round?
Fuck, I don't have any more.
Pour it. One arm it if you can. Get a real
Hold on.
long...
It's cool.
God damn.
Fucking Linda Hamilton style.
That's bad. You should try to round that out.
Yeah, I'm gonna work on that.
Damn.
You gotta aim way low because it kicks.
Oh, man.
Aim low.
I was aiming low.
Alright. Ew. With their earmuffs and everything.
Yeah, man, you guys gotta make a copy of this one.
I already got one.
It's like, fuck, I ain't even gonna try. I'm just gonna follow.
Ah!
It's empty. Scared, it's like, oh fuck, man.
We weren't shooting.
There's stuff.
Did you hit one?
I don't think so. Damn,
It's double action, so it's still loaded.
That's not what double action means, Bill.
Oh, I mean, not fucking, With guns.
Play with cut-off shotguns.
Guns are bad. When you saw them off and make them illegal, bad things happen to you. Just say no to sawed-offs.
Yes.
No, no, no.
Kicks.
Tight. Yeah, hold your... Shot in the head. Yeah! In a row.
Right up its ass.
Oh, that got it.
What are you shooting at, man?
Shot the center one right at the butt. Is it shooting high?
A little bit.
A little bit high, a little to the...
You guys have a problem with it, man.
Stuff these and hang them on my wall, man, right above my fireplace. That thing ripped that motherfucker up, dude. Damn. Yo, Mark.
Rev, do you see all the shotgun pellet holes?
This is what a slug does. 9mm slug. 9mm.
Oh, this is a shot. I think this is a shotgun here too.
Where?
Right here. God.
What about down there?
Where?
That's from the SK or the
desert.
I don't know what that's from.
I think it's from it.
This is a normal tree that was wasted. Hold on. Good tree, bad.
Right way.
Yeah.
Gotta chop him down with a gun. Fucking shot it with Mark's 45 once, dude. Fucking thing just fell over.
Just a few shotgun shells.